You're listening to the Ecosystem Support 360, a joint podcast to feature individuals, teams, governments, and ecosystem around the globe who are supporting innovation. I'm Andy from Seeking Leverage, tuning in from New York.
I'm Kevin from Shibula Ventures, tuning today from LA.
Please like and subscribe to this podcast to keep up to date to everything that's going on with innovation around the world. So, welcome back. This is our 6th episode now with the city of Yokohama. I'm really excited to introduce Lee Jean, who lives in Yokohama. Really excited to talk about Yokohama startups and how Lee is helping startups in Japan.
Thank you so much. My name's Lee. And like you said, I am based in the Kanagawa Prefecture. I have been helping startups for the past year now since I arrived in Japan. I founded a company called Omni English, which helps Japanese founders go global by helping them with their English and their soft skills. I host a lot of community events and I do workshops and online courses to help them do that. So it's been a lot of fun, really rewarding stuff.
Awesome. It's really cool that we were able to speak with you, Lee, and hear from you your honest thoughts. You're not getting paid to say X, Y, and Z, I think. And so some honest thoughts of what it feels like to be conducting business and founding a company and all that kind of stuff. And, living in the startup world in the city of Yokohama. Just for the sake of the listeners, this is a Yokohama series. I think our colleagues from the city of Yokohama are trying to join right now, but as we can always appreciate first world issues with technology, but we'll work it out. So I think we'll have fun today. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yokohama has been incredible. I love the city so much. And ever since I got here, I always wanted to build from Yokohama compared to Tokyo. So it's been really great exploring the city, meeting the people who work for the city of Yokohama and all the people in the startup ecosystem here. It's been really rewarding.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have been to Sushi Tech here in Japan, but Sushi Tech, how I got my story getting into Yokohama. So Sushi Tech's a huge conference. They have startups from all over Japan, all over the world come and present, at this big conference. And I actually was walking around by myself and I saw this booth, the city of Yokohama. I was like, oh, this is cool. What's going on here? I casually walked up and asked them about what they're doing. And they told me about some of the things that they're doing for startups, like the startup visa. They told me about Kanai, for example, some of the co-working spaces there. I was like, oh, this is interesting. Met somebody who worked for the city of Yokohama, didn't think anything of it, just connected on LinkedIn and, went on my way. A few weeks later, I hosted a pitch workshop that I was doing at Venture Cafe in Tokyo. And I did a recap and I was like, oh, it went really well. And look at all the participants and everything. And a representative from there, I don't know if you guys know her name's Aya. She was just on maternity leave. But she reached out to me and was like, hey, I love what you're doing. Would you be interested in potentially helping out the city of Yokohama, the staff? We need help with our English. We need help with connecting with foreign founders and stuff. So I was like, yeah, absolutely. And, I got to really know their team and help them. And it was really empowering stuff because they're Yokohama is very eager to help attract foreign founders to build from Yokohama. So the staff themselves, they really wanted to understand how to connect better with foreign founders because the language gap is huge, right? When you go from English and Japanese and then culturally. So my role was to help them understand from our perspective what we're looking for in an ecosystem and also to help them with their communication skills. So it was a lot of fun. And every time I go to the Tech Hub Yokohama, I bump into some of them sometimes and see them, and they're always very friendly and helpful.
Let's go back a little bit more. What brought you to Japan in the first place?
Sure. So actually, I was living in Vietnam before. I had lived there for 7 years. And I actually met my wife while living in Vietnam. My wife is Japanese. And we met there, and I was teaching English for the 7 years there. But my last year in Vietnam, I had actually found the Antler Accelerator program. And I quit my job to join it full time. And when you quit your job, you don't have a visa. So I was on a tourist visa the whole time, right? So I had to keep doing visa runs every 3 months. I told my wife, I was like, I can't keep doing this, man. We got to move somewhere. We actually moved to Japan because now being on the spouse visa, it's a lot easier for me to build my business from here. So yeah, it was just more practical than anything. But I've always wanted to live in Japan, always, my whole life.
That's awesome. I love the fact that like every person has a different story with respect to, why they would move to Japan. Just to kind of share a little bit of myself too, just for the context of like just conversation here is, I mean, I have a very strong Japanese root where both of my parents are from Japan, but here's me like just still being in LA and in New York and just being in the US and I mean, I don't know, like I don't know if I can really live in Japan, it's kind of weird, but it's really interesting how how you moved there. For various reasons, familial ties and for work, and you're still there, so it's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Japan compared to the US for me is just peaceful, right? Just overall peaceful, and especially during this time, that we're in. But it's also a unique challenge. Like for me, I'm always somebody who likes to put myself outside of my comfort zone because I think that's where real learning occurs. And for me, like ever since I was, in university, I've always wanted to live somewhere that I haven't didn't know anybody. So after university, I actually moved to Miami. I lived there for 4 years, and I moved to Australia did on the working holiday visa. Then I lived there for like 9 months before moving to Vietnam and then here. So, and I feel like that's a trend that's going to just keep going my whole life, man.
You're
Everywhere I
living
go,
a great life.
yeah, man, I
Yeah, I
learn
love
new
it.
languages. I speak Vietnamese. I speak a little bit of Japanese now. So it's everywhere you go, you learn a little bit about the world, and it's been great.
Lee, that we heard your story of, why you came to Japan or you went to Japan. And I love to learn a little bit more of like what's keeping you there. What's keeping you there? What's keeping you in Yokohama? And maybe just as a little bit of an icebreaker, like what's a good food to, try out in Yokohama for any founder who want a little bit more of a boots on the ground type of information.
Sure, sure, absolutely. Well, one of the things that's keeping me in Japan is how how much energy and focus is being into startups at the moment. Every single week there's events, whether it be in Tokyo or Yokohama, all over Japan. There's just a lot of energy and focus in the ecosystem here. Whereas I feel like in the US, obviously there's energy and focus there, but it's more competitive in that sense, and it's more like maybe cutthroat depending on what market you're in for talent. Whereas here, I think there's a ton of opportunities. Traditionally, I think Japan's been one of the global leaders in hardware and like process improvement, manufacturing, but not so much with startups. And when you compare it to the US or even South Korea, like Japan has like very few unicorns. I think what Mercari, maybe Rakuten, and a couple others like Paydi, for example. But other than that, there's none really. And that's where I see a ton of opportunity. But I also see from an English perspective, Japan has a long way to go to
Hmm.
be where some of its neighbors are, to be where some of its competitors are. And that's where I kind of come in, where I blend those two things together. I have an English speaking background and obviously English teaching background, but also I have done the Antler Accelerator program. I do have a degree in business. I tried to build my own startup, and I know all the issues that have to do with that. And I see a
Hmm.
huge opportunity to help founders get the skills they need so that they can build on a global stage, hire global talent, right? Attract foreign customers, attract foreign investors. It's really hard if you don't understand the language or the culture. I actually spoke to somebody that I met at the Tech Hub Yokohama, and she says she's based in San Francisco. She's Japanese American like you. And she says that sometimes Japanese founders go to America and they pitch in Japanese. And it's like, how are you supposed to attract global investors if you're pitching in Japanese? Nobody.
Yeah.
So the awareness of your audience is something that I think that a lot of people really need to work on, and that's what I'm trying to help them with. Yeah.
Yeah. Your tag on your LinkedIn says helping Japan create more unicorns. Outside of language, what are some of the things that you've identified as a area of opportunity for Japanese founders and the
That's
ecosystem as a whole to really create more of those unicorns?
that's one of the number one thing I believe is the mindset, and that's like Japan has the fourth largest economy in the world, right? 100 million people live here, right? So it's a very comfortable place to build from, right? For Japanese founders, you speak the language, you know the culture, you have enough customers. If you get to a certain point, why would I go abroad, right? So, and then I think culturally, Japan is very risk averse. The culture is very risk averse for a lot of people. So why try something new when you don't have to? So that's the thing that's really holding a lot of founders back. It's not even just founders, it's the investors. Compared to the US, investors in Japan want startups to IPO after what, $3 million or something like that in revenue. Compared to America, it's like 100 million is a minimum, right? So, like there's a lot of differences between the expectations for startups. And I'm trying to help show some of the founders that I work with what it really takes to succeed on the global stage, especially if they want to go to America, and just setting that expectation for them. When I was in Vietnam, it was more so like we had that American kind of like mindset over there in terms of going global. They didn't want to just build from Vietnam. They wanted to build at least regionally and with America being the goal. So yeah, hopefully bringing some of that knowledge and awareness to Japan. That's kind of what I'm trying to do.
Good stuff. I think we can have a lot of deep conversations with respect to expansion strategies from Japan to the world, especially because I kind of work in that space. But, we're going to try one more time, trying to see if we can pass the baton to City of Yokohama to see if he can hear us. Masa, can you hear us all right?
Yes, I'm now. Yeah. Can see.
Yes, we are on track with getting everybody on board with this. Yeah, wonderful. Well, so yeah, I mean, Masa, Lee has been kind enough to been sharing his experiences of like what motivated him to move to Japan and like what's keeping him there and what, kind of exciting things he's working on to help startups, expand from Japan, et cetera. We can certainly dive more, but we obviously wanted to ensure that you have the opportunity to ask any cool questions too.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Now you know that Japanese culture a lot, and just wondered what kind of cultural barriers as they following the. You also made your own startups, right? What kind of cultural barriers is there between two countries, especially in the business context, and how you actually support maybe the Japanese companies, maybe not necessarily you be the maybe great mentor to the non-Japanese founders here in Yokohama too.
So I've worked with both like Japanese and foreign founders. And one of the main things that obviously is a key difference in my mind is that foreign founders have more of a global mindset in that sense, where they're ready to solve problems in Japan, but the goal is to solve a bigger problem globally. When they think of the mindset like to go abroad, it's already there. Whereas, in Japan, they want to make sure everything is perfect here in Japan first before they even think about going abroad. And a lot of times you can build a business in Japan, scale it to a certain amount, and you have a very comfortable lifestyle. And I think in Japan, it's all about comfort. Whereas abroad, global founders, it's not necessarily about comfort. They want more and more and more. So that mindset of having the end goal being going global is the key difference for me. Also, I think down to confidence. I think that, sometimes, Japanese founders might not be so confident in expressing themselves and expressing like what they're selling in front of others or on LinkedIn, for example. In Japan, LinkedIn is not really used that often. I think I read the stats because I'm actually building a course to help Japanese founders get onto LinkedIn.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's like 4 million, only 4 to 5 million Japanese total are on LinkedIn. When you compare that to the US, in the US, there's 267 million users on LinkedIn. And we have 300 million people in our country. So like, that's a big difference, And yeah, just getting people to like, I'm trying to build that bridge between the two different cultures so that there's more of an awareness of what it actually takes to go global.
Yeah. And maybe focusing on Yokohama, what do the Japanese founders or the foreign founders you meet, like, what does Yokohama or like even the tech hub offer that is attractive to these founders to really build that mindset?
Yeah. So the tech hub, I think it was built in December last year, or it was opened in December last year. So
I think
it's
it's like
fairly
November
new,
or
right?
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Something is very recent. And it's been such a great place to like have community events in. So one of the initiatives that I started with another person who does the same thing in Tokyo is called the Yokohama Startup Lunch Club. So
Mm.
basically, that's a bi-monthly meeting, or sorry, bi-weekly meeting where we meet and have lunch together at the Tech Hub and talk about our startups, our challenges, share insights and tips with each other during lunchtime at the Tech Hub. And it was a lot of it's been a lot of fun. And the people that I meet there, they really appreciate Yokohama compared to Tokyo because it's more comfortable environment to live in. There's less people. It's easier to get around. It's not as crowded. It's cheaper.
Mhm.
It's it's just a more relaxed area. Like especially with older founders who have children and families. There's tons of like international schools there. Lots of places for kids to be and everything.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, Yokohama is a prettier city. I just did a river cruise with my wife the other day, and it was really cool to see it at nighttime, all lit up and everything. This is kind of like the conversations I have with people. It's like a lot of people actually live in Kanagawa, in Yokohama, and then sometimes work in Tokyo. Whereas
Yeah.
I want to help raise awareness for people that actually you can build from Yokohama. The Tech Hub is a new initiative that's there, right? There's Yokso Box, which is also run by the city of Yokohama. And then like G Innovation Hub, there's like a lot of co-working spaces that are there that not many people know about.
Yeah.
And hopefully they can see the benefits of it soon.
Yeah. That's cool. The way that Yokohama is really building like innovation spaces, places where people can meet, places where they
Mhm.
can find you and your business and get exposed to it. Additional question to that is like, obviously, one part is saying, hey, Japanese founders, come to Yokohama instead of Tokyo or other cities to really build your company. But talking about non Japanese founders, what has been your experience in talking to non Japanese founders on why they want to be in Yokohama or like choose to be in Yokohama?
Yokohama has a startup visa program, unlike some other cities. I think that is very attractive. So a lot of them who are coming here, they're very interested in Yokohama specifically because of that visa. It really helps them get their foot in the door in Japan and start building from there. Although I did hear that Japan is thinking about changing the business manager visa requirements, which is unfortunate. I heard that they're going to raise the capital requirements to 30 million instead of 5 million yen. So that's something that's going to hopefully change later on down the line. But the startup visa is still there, and that's a good foot in the door so that they can get a POC or an MVP going. They can, hopefully raise investment so they can afford that visa, the business manager visa later on. But yeah, like similar to what I had said before about like just the environment in Yokohama, it's cheaper, it's easier, it's better for them to live in, more comfortable, easier to get around.
Sounds great. I think there's been a lot of positives that have been mentioned. And
Mhm.
I think it's just to be fair with our assessment here, maybe we could also be a little bit honest with some avenues of improvements that maybe just not necessarily for the city, perhaps, but really for the founders to be aware of, just so
Yeah.
that they can, as our audience, be able to make the right informed decision of what's best for them. So, like, I guess my question here is, and I hate to be the one asking this question. I wish it was like someone else, but Lee, like from your eyes and from your experiences, what are some of the things that you wish that maybe there were some improvements made? And, just to kind of let some of the soon to be founders in Yokohama be aware of.
Oh, how much time do you have? There's a few things. There's a few things that make some of the key things differences from Tokyo compared to Yokohama. Obviously, Tokyo is very close to Yokohama. There's more people there. What, 35 million people or something like that? It's a crazy number, right? So in Tokyo, there's more. Even though there's a great number of international founders or and people that live in Yokohama, it's not as connected as Tokyo is. Tokyo, there's so many events going on that are in English where foreign founders can mingle with Japanese founders and connect in that way. There's Japanese and foreign events in Tokyo, whereas in Yokohama there's maybe one, and that's Venture Cafes Yokohama Connect. There's only really one English event. Very few events happen in English. Foreign founders, especially who only speak English, need to commute to Tokyo to go to events, right? That's an area of opportunity that I see in Yokohama, especially. That's why I tried to do the startup lunch club there. That's why I tried to do my own like networking event there called Business and Beers. I was running that for a few months, so there's just not enough community builders. There's just not enough community events in Yokohama to attract people from Tokyo, to attract people from other parts of the city to come join. The tech hub Yokohama is great, but it's not. It's a bit small for people to go in, and a lot of the events that are there are only in Japanese. So they have Yokohama Connect that's there every second and fourth Wednesday each month, but then there's no other English speaking events at all. And that's a shame because it's a great location, great space for people to build from and to connect at, but then we can't. And I find that very challenging. Some of the other co-working spaces in Tokyo are free. And Tech Hub Yokohama is also free, but the requirements and the way to get into it are quite difficult. It's a long application process, and you might take a few weeks to get here back, and you have to like qualify very specific requirements. So whereas in Tokyo Innovation Base, for example, you just download an app and you're ready to go. Same thing with Deloitte. They have a co-working space there. You just sign up and that's it. And it's free. So having an actual space for people to build from and get off the ground in a quick and easy way, and also places to connect, I think would be better for this ecosystem.
Gotcha.
I can talk about a lot more, but I think that's a good place to start. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's, you bring up very important points. The fact that, the English speaking community with respect to like the founders and the startup ecosystem in Yokohama, I think it's growing. It's just that, it's just not highlighted as much as those who are going to these Tokyo events because there's just not enough events. I get it. I feel like we need to plan a ice cream social mixer or something like that. That's English, English event or whatever. I don't know if I think most people like ice cream. I think. Well,
Yes.
I'm sure we'll throw in a vegan or dairy-free option in there too, in case some folks aren't, maybe they can't dairy-based
Yeah.
ice cream. But in any case, I think having that type of like English-speaking mixers would be really, really important and valuable. I didn't know about some co-working spaces in Tokyo being free for some of the startups. So I think that's a valuable information for founders to see, like, what would be the best, and also a very constructive feedback and input for the city of Yokohama too. Whenever they hear this when it gets on
Yes.
YouTube. But yes.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's run by the government, the Tokyo Metropolitan Government. So I mean, they have more resources, I think, so that they can do that. But yeah, it's something that it's a clear distinction. Like, am I going to pay for a place or am I going to go for free? Even if I have to travel a bit more, I'll go to the free one where there's more events that are in English, where I can connect with more founders and I can connect with more people that are going to help my business. In Tokyo Innovation Base, there's a dedicated booth for people to help set up businesses there. Like, you can go and get real information about how to establish your business right there. So in that environment, like, it's great. Like, it's a one-stop shop for everybody that's a founder. And it's very comfortable.
If people want to really like reach out to you and learn more, is there any best way that they can do that?
Yeah, several ways. I am a LinkedIn like content creator. I am somebody who's always posting actively on LinkedIn. I'm a big LinkedIn fan. I think that any Japanese people listening to this should be on LinkedIn. So create a profile. If you don't know how, definitely reach out and I'll help you do that. But LinkedIn is the best way. You can also reach me on my website at omnielt.com. And I have my own podcast called the Product Podcast, where I interview founders and product team members about some of the exciting stuff they're building here in Japan, but also globally. Yes, feel free to reach out.
That's awesome. We'll add all those in the show notes. And then, Kevin, are you able to maybe share any events that the city of Yokohama is doing in the next few weeks or months?
So with Masa and Nikolai, who was unable to join today, unfortunately, because of technical issues, but they are working very hard currently to organize an event during New York Climate Week. And that should, the announcements for that should come out in more frequency in the next couple days, just to, solicit any interest who are, in town, who just happen to be in town in New York City on September 25th, I believe, which is a Thursday. And it's going to be really cool. There are going to be some academic and industry and some city level members, to talk about like public-private partnerships and how industry and academia could collaborate, and also just talk about climate related topics in general, and even have a very prominent professor from a very reputable university in the US also talk about how a lot of these efforts really just tie into a big movement, So, and with the city of Yokohama planning their Green Expo in 2027, everything just kind of leads up to that. City of Yokohama is really pushing themselves as being like a core city for smart cities and green and sustainability and all that. So, please stay tuned for future episodes, and please feel free to contact either the City of Yokohama, Andy, or myself for anything related to this podcast and just startup ecosystem in general. But of course, Lee as well for anything specific in Yokohama.
Amazing. Thanks for listening in. Last but not least, we would appreciate you answering a quick survey, also showing in this QR code on the screen. So thank you, Lee, for joining the pod today.
Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Thank you.